Hello, everyone, and welcome to the COSIN Spotlight session sponsored by Acer for Education. My name is Nidhi Tassoni, and I'm your host for this session. Today's presentation will focus on Acer's ecosystem of programs that support device lifecycle management for K-12 schools. I am excited to introduce our panelists for today. Jennifer Wadland is the Vice President of Commercial Sales at Acer America Corporation. Jennifer has spent more than 16 years with Acer. She began in 2000 as Education Territory Account Manager in the Northeast. Over the years, she has been closely engaged with K-12 schools, working in various roles within the Acer organization, moving from the manager of the commercial field team to senior director, and now as vice president of US Commercial. She has also worked for one of Acer's largest DMR partners, CDW, and enjoyed working in on their field team focused on K-12 education. Prior to joining Acer, Jennifer worked for Focus Enhancements and focused on developing partners and working with schools in various capacities. William Fritz serves as the Director of Technology at Sycamore Community Schools in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 2008, he co-founded Learn21 nonprofit and is the Executive Director. Learn21 provides innovative, cost-effective educational technology solutions developed by educators for educators. Learn21 supports schools with a dynamic team of software developers and instructional innovators. Bill's industry background in computer science, coupled with his educational leadership, has grown Learn21 to serve hundreds of schools nationwide. In 2017, Bill was instrumental in forming the Learn21 Ohio COSIN State Chapter, where he served as chair from 2017 through 2019. Bill has been recognized by NSPA Technology and Leadership Network as a 22 Watch Educator Award in 2009 and COSIN CETL. Kevin Gantos is the IT Operations Manager for Learn21. As a founding member of Learn21, Kevin leads a team of software developers supporting K-12 schools with innovative solutions. His over 15 years combined experience teaching at the University of Cincinnati and serving as software developer at Sycamore Community Schools provides a unique skill set to understand K-12 needs. He has developed innovative K-12 solutions that include learning management systems, data integration, automations, and student-parent early warning dashboards. His vision and knowledge of K-12 has led to the development of solutions and processes to bring efficiency to districts while providing them with tools and reports to make data-driven decisions. I'm now going to hand it over to Jennifer to share with you some of the Acer program and ecosystem resources for K-12.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. Just making sure that you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So today, and thank you all for joining us today. Today, I'm just going to touch on a few topics, a little bit about Acer and general Acer overview, what we are doing in education, and most importantly, kind of what we bring to the market and the value that we bring around the box. Next slide, please. Okay, I'll start with Acer overview. Our chairman and CEO is Jason Chen. He was formerly of Intel. Acer is headquartered, for those of you who don't know, in Taipei. We have close to 8,000 employees worldwide, and we are present in 160 countries. Next slide. I am in the Pan American division. We have shipped over 60 million units since 2014. And we ship about 45,000 units every single day. Thank you. Can you, next slide. Our full portfolio of products in the PANAM division is notebooks, both Windows and Chrome, desktop systems, monitors, projectors, and gadgets as well. Next, please. I put this slide together quite a while ago because it's very interesting to see kind of how we grew and became so successful in this market. I'm not sure how long most of you have been in the education market, but back in 2008 and 2009, Acer launched a netbook, and initially that was going into retail. It wasn't really given commercial um, consideration, but it launched and became extremely um, successful in the education market. There were changes made to the operating system, the Windows operating system, which changed the price of the netbook, and that kind of faded out. But it enabled schools to get more technology into the hands of students and get closer to that one-to-one, which was probably way, way below 50%. And then in 2012, we launched a Chromebook, and this again was a retail product. And as I attended education trade shows, I kept hearing schools ask for Chromebooks in education. And I asked, why would you leave the Windows world? What was the interest in the response was always that Chromebooks booted up so quickly that you wouldn't wait for that startup. And that was sort of the initial lure, if you will. But as we continued on the path, we could see that this is where the market was going. And we wanted to accomplish faster processors. The ARM-based processors that initially came out on Chromebooks really were not fit for education. So we moved immediately over to a Haswell Intel processor that worked very well, and continued along that path to Broadwell, larger core processors in the Celeron space. And then we started thinking, okay, well, students are using these more and more, right? And they're going home with some students. Some schools were very fortunate to be able to do, one-to-one programs, and durability became a key factor. And Acer has always done, from this time forward in 2015, the standard mil spec that you see in the market, but beyond mil spec, where we have anchored keyboards so the keys don't, even a seventh grader, it's a tough pull to pull those keys up. Honeycomb design to absorb the shock if they do drop. So all the durability that we continue to put into the Chromebooks, we continue every year to say, how can we make this faster, in the same price range, and more durable? And then further along down the line, we started to see teachers say, well, wait, we want to be on the same operating system, but we like a larger screen. And so, starting in 2017 and continuing today, we have 12, 13, 14, 15, and 17-inch screens available in Chromebooks, available to teachers. So longer battery life, a little sleeker. So we've developed those units specifically geared to the educators themselves. Next slide. Acer has probably more projects outstanding with Google right now than any other manufacturers. I believe we have about 27 pending right now with Google, but we have been always trying to be innovative in this space. We were the first touchscreen Chromebook, the first convertible Chromebook, the first Chromebook that supported Google Play, the first Chrome tab, the first Chromebook that supported the EMR pen, which now has moved to new technology, but we were the first ones with the pen, and then the first one with the world-facing camera, so that students could use their Chromebooks on field trips. Next slide. We have done very well in the education market as a whole. We have 3 of the top largest districts in the country that buy Acer, and probably, just even more importantly, some of these schools like New York City has been an Acer customer for about 7 years now. So we continue through our programs around the box, which I'm going to get into, to keep these schools happy and engaged with Acer. Next. We have several schools that have an install base of 20,000 units or more. The New York DOE has actually 200,000 units or more. Next, even more with 15,000. Next, more, even so with 12,000. 10,000. So we are able to support large districts, and just as importantly, we're able to support smaller districts as well. Next. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about Acer and education and why all these schools are sticking with Acer, and what do we really bring to the table for you. So we have a very large install base of Chromebooks. We've shipped about 20 million Chromebooks since 2014. That's a large amount of Chromebooks. Very low failure rates in our Chromebooks. We are always below the industry averages on failure rates. We also don't go with a one-size-fits-all approach. You might have special ed students, or you might have K through 2 that likes to hold just a tablet. You might need special ed larger screens. So whatever it is that you need, within the Chromebooks, we didn't just go with, here's your one pick, take this one or take nothing. We have 15 or more Chromebooks geared towards education. We also offer, and I will get into this a little bit more, this free US-based Premier support. This is not just a regular support line. This is a tier 2 support line that is for education specific. And we say 100 units or more, but really if a school came to us and said, we want to buy 3 and we want this Premier support, we would put you in the program too. We offer free shipping on Chrome to and from the repair depot, also on our Windows devices for students, our 11.6 line, free shipping to and from the repair depot. And then another very important key piece, which I'll get into a little bit more, is we don't tell you how to do your service. What works best for your school is what works best for your school. So we customize our service programs around what works for you. Does it work better for you to do your own repairs and be paid for them? Does it work better for you to have some hot spares? Does it work better for you to have a parts closet where you can repair and then ship back to Acer without any downtime? So we try to customize programs that are geared for you. We also, and my final point of this slide, is that we also have different processing power and memory that we know that as we move forward here, you might want to jump to 8 gig models. You might want to jump to a larger core processor, and we offer the full gamut of processors. As these Chromebooks or systems get used more and more, the students may need more power, or the teachers may need more power. So we have everything from entry-level processors up to Core i7s on all of our education products. Next slide. So you may see us around at education trade shows, maybe not as much this year, but we hope to see you in the years to come. We do lots of trade shows, lots of events. We do different education campaigns, which you may see us through our channel partners like a CDW or a Connection or smaller VARs. We're often running thought leadership initiatives, and you'll see us on social media. We have different programs that have come out of our Education Advisory Council, which we meet once a year, or we had been prior to the pandemic, but we meet once a year, and they give us different ideas. Like we came out of it was the EduCare service program. This is really geared towards Windows, where this warranty will give you a new battery every year because schools don't have budgets for batteries. So this came out of the Education Advisory Council. Also, our Education Seed program let schools try different products. If they want to keep it, they can buy it at a reduced cost to try out the technology. And that also came out of the Education Advisory Council. We often work with Google, we work with Microsoft and Intel, Qualcomm and AMD, and now MediaTek very closely, and have great partnerships so that we can continue to get products in a timely manner. Little more difficult with the pandemic, but we bring these products to market and have very close partnerships there, which only benefit you in the long run. Next slide. This is actually from a few years back, but this is a picture of our Education Advisory Council. And again, we meet once a year, it's typically in May, and discuss how can Acer better serve you. A lot of companies say they want to better serve you, but we actually take these initiatives and put them right into the market. So we really listen, and it gives us an opportunity. But even if you weren't on the council and you wanted to have a conversation about what schools need, we are always open for that. Next slide. So I'm just going to review some of these programs that we have, again, programs around the box, and I'll get into kind of each one individually. Next. So Premier Support, this is really our secret sauce. This is really where we shine, and we get rated so highly on service, and this is why. We have a Premier team, and they are located down in Temple, Texas. They're US based. They're level 2 technicians. They have a separate email address and a separate 800 number. You're given a PIN. You get a welcome letter and a PIN number to get into that group. You often end up talking to the same because of your geography, the same group of technicians when you call in. But if in the world of email or text, you can email them and they'll return your email as long as you give your Premier number within an hour. When you call, there's no more than a 15-second hold time, and they sit right next to engineering. So if there's ever any compatibility, does it work with this printer? I'm trying to use this dock. Engineering also sits in our Temple, Texas campus. So it is very convenient. Next slide. So some of the additional services that they offer at Acer Educare is a battery replacement. If you had Windows systems, it tends not to be as necessary on Chrome, because sometimes with the Chrome OS, your battery can even improve over the life of the product. But with Windows systems, that's often not the case. So we offer battery replacement warranties, accidental damage, of course. We've had schools come to us with different ideas for different warranties. We have a large account, Boston Public Schools, that wanted to do a warranty pool and not buy them up front. We customize what makes sense for you. Is if we can work it out, then we will. So another thing that we do that I'll talk about more later is kind of the warranty registration start day shift. Especially in current times, you might have to buy the systems a little sooner than you needed. We also offer white glove services. ZTE is available through Acer as well, or through one of our partners. I mentioned the extended service plans, and I will get into our repair certification program in a few slides forward. Next. So I mentioned the warranty registration start date. So this is very critical because you don't want your warranty, or I don't think you want your warranty starting as your units are sitting for the summer prior to deployment. So what we do is if you buy them, say now, and you actually are fortunate enough to get a unit that's in stock and they deliver them, but you're not really rolling them out to your student population until September 15th, say, we will just say, okay, well, we're going to wait on starting the warranty until September 15th. Of course, you're covered in the meantime if there was some crazy incident that happened, but know that we can extend it out. We've done it as much as 70, 80 days forward. So this is available. We just need the list of serial numbers and the start date, and we're like in a switch. We send that over to Premier Support, and it's your warranty date is changed. Next. So this program is also a program that came out of our Education Advisory Council, which I am the most excited about. This isn't like a lighthearted program. This is a 7 to 8 hour curriculum. It is designed for students. It was tested by students. They did some testing local. I believe it might have been Temple, ISD that did some testing, and also a school in Minnesota that did some testing for us. How did the students respond to certain bits of information? But this is like no joke. This is like a 7 to 8 hour curriculum. It's really designed for high school students. We've had some middle school students who are responsible take this program and are fine. It is done by model. So each model has its own program. So if you have a district that has 4 different models, the students would take each module. Next slide. So I just wanted to give you a taste of sort of what the program looks like as a student as you're logging in. Next. So this is sort of the cool guy that runs the program. We try to pick somebody that was, sort of, certainly not high school age, but a little more hip than, and he's a professional trainer. So basically the program is divided between like the overview of the components of the system, how to replace the components, post repair, like testing, reconfiguring the hardware, and then technical assessments. Next. So it spits out into different modules, and it lets the student decide what it is they want to repair first. So it gives the students some choice. And we heard that a lot from students, that they want to have a choice, that they might not be in the mood for a keyboard repair. They want to go for the motherboard first. They want to go to the screen first, but it gives them some control over the program themselves, which is very beneficial at that age. But this is what it looks like, the component overview, and they click down and then they would get further into that component. Next. Also, it delivers very small bits of information at once. It doesn't go through like, here's how we're just changing the motherboard. It does a little bit at a time, so it's easier for the students to digest. It does these little fun little gamification. On the right hand side, you see like where would you put the screws, or or what they ask, what part is used to repair, and obviously like a guitar wouldn't be in there, but they can also see how they're performing against the other students in their class. So there is some challenging and fun, I don't know what the right word is, but just competition, I should say, against other students. Next slide. There's also downloadable resources. So if the student wants to, we had some schools say, well, some of our students speak different languages. Could we use a translator? So they are downloading some of these resources. We had a school over the summer that actually they always had students come in over the summer to deploy systems. And because of the pandemic, they couldn't do that. But they come from sort of a financially challenged area. So they actually paid the students instead of coming into, but they paid them to do this whole program so that when they came back to school in the fall, they would be ready to help out the IT staff and work shoulder to shoulder repairing the systems. So I did want to mention that. Next slide. There's also instructional videos, and they're step-by-step. We've had some schools actually ask us if the tech team could actually take some of these videos or watch some of these, and sure, like if that's what's desired, then absolutely we can set it up so some of the tech team can log in as well. Next slide. And then there's quizzes. So to move on, they have to pass a quiz. And this is sort of where the competition comes in. Next slide. And at the end, there is a final assessment where the students, in order to become receive a certificate, the students have to pass this. And this is again per unit, so it's per model, I should say. Next slide. So one other thing that we do, in addition to trade-in programs, which we have, if you want to trade in your units to upgrade them, we do have that program as well. But we noticed time after time in going to these schools that the challenge was always, how do we integrate the Google Console with the student information system? There seems to be no easy way to do it. Library systems seem to be sort of not the ideal or even close to ideal. So we've had schools which kept track of units and on Excel spreadsheets, and they were managing these big Excel spreadsheets. And we started to recommend one-to-one manager. And we've asked the one-to-one manager team to join us today. And I'll let them talk about it, but we do have a special promotion with Acer. We've had some major adoption from some of our large districts that are just thrilled with the product. And we're offering it at no charge with any Acer system bought this year. So I'm going to pass it over, but I did want to say this is sort of another way we try to make it easier for you in buying Acer Chromebooks and deploying Acer Chromebooks. I will pass it over to, I'm not sure if it's Bill or Kevin speaking first.
Yeah, it's Bill. So thank you, Jennifer. If you could come back to our slide of one more back, please. There you go. Thank you. So I just want to share a little bit of it, and thank you, Jennifer, for the introduction. And Kevin and I will speak a little bit about the one-to-one manager, but I want to give everyone on the call an opportunity to just kind of know who we are and what we do, and we really appreciate the opportunity with the partnership with Acer. Jennifer and I spoke, I guess it was, gosh, Jennifer, it was about 2 years ago, pre-COVID, when we recognized the need. And quite frankly, I witnessed it personally because I'm the technology director for Sycamore Community Schools. We're a one-to-one program since 2014. Been with Acer, been on the advisory board at Acer. So Jennifer, we really appreciate the work you and Nidhi do on that advisory board. And as being a nonprofit, we started in 2008 just serving schools. We noticed the challenges, and as you said, Jennifer, we saw challenges in one-to-one when we started in 2014 of how do we track the devices? And the easiest part I always say, folks, is you buy a device and then that gets hard from there. How do you track them? How do you manage them? What's your total cost of ownership of maintaining a program like this? We've had with Acer the programs that Jen had talked about. We've gone through those programs of the warranties at our Sycamore Community School District. So back in 2008, we went ahead and became a nonprofit, Learn 21. And as a nonprofit, we also are the Ohio COSIN chapter. So we're very much affiliated with K-12 Tech Director Advocacy. Through there, we have a number of programs that we're helping mentor tech directors in Ohio. In fact, since 2017, when we began as the chapter, we've actually have 54 CETLs now. So we're really trying to work on that. We're listening. And as a nonprofit, we also have, as you're going to meet Kevin here in a moment, we're going to talk about one-to-one manager. We talk about how do we provide good solutions to schools, as not all of us have the ability and the wherewithal inside our walls to get that done effectively, and sometimes vendors don't really give us those tools that we need. And when Jennifer and I talked about this a few years ago, we recognized immediately the opportunity that we could maybe come alongside schools and Acer schools specifically and provide them. And we're going to talk more about that promotion. But the partnership really involves understanding workflows, understanding challenges that tech directors have in their district around one-to-one. And you can see on this slide, as these puzzle pieces talk about, that it's all about not only tracking, but you're going to hear Kevin in a moment talk about student-centric. I think that's what makes us different. We live it every day, and therefore there is this real difference between a help desk asset tracking system and what we now see in one-to-one management, which is really about student-centric enterprise solution that focuses around enterprise infrastructure, as Jen just mentioned, about integrating with Google, pulling that data, making it simple, bringing you reports that really are meaningful, but also student-centric, because there's a lot of lay people in my district and your district probably that are working with a one-to-one solution or working with the kids, and it needs to be a simple solution, but yet very robust on the back end of integrating solutions together, your SIS and such. And also, then there's also the part about the strategic outcomes that we need to kind of bring back to our Board of Education, the reports, the information. We really need to talk about lifecycle device management. And I'd like to introduce Kevin Gantos. Kevin is our IT manager at Learn21. Kevin's going to talk a little bit with you around the life cycle about device management, that enterprise life cycle, and what does that look like today? And quite frankly, even 2 years ago, pre-COVID, what it looked like. So if you would move the slide on one more. And Kevin, if you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the work we're doing with around 375 schools across 18 states now.
Sure. Yeah, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. So my name is Kevin Gantos. I'm the IT operations manager, and my team developed the one-to-one manager and continue to develop and support it with the large number of schools that we've been working with. And we're very excited about the partnership we have with Acer and the opportunities. So I just want to kind of, using the slide I have presented, just kind of talk through a few areas that we always feel are very important. And these are areas that we've tried to really bake into our software. We know that these are challenges or areas that existing systems like spreadsheets, which commonly are what people use, or library systems, don't quite meet all the needs. So just really to start out, we look at our system and we really look at a one-to-one deployment as a whole as really requiring enterprise infrastructure. So for us, the first step is always making sure that you know what devices you have out there and where they're located. And we do that through a variety of different mechanisms. We do a lot of systems integration, so we accomplish that through multiple avenues of integration, be it the Google Admin Console, where we directly connect into your district Google Admin Console through Google APIs. That allows us to pull in any purchased and provisioned devices directly into the one-to-one manager. So as you're purchasing devices, you're replacing those devices, we're able to just reach in and bring those assets directly into one-to-one. For districts that are looking beyond just Chromebooks, we also can bring in Windows devices and even other branded devices, hotspots and things of that nature into the system as well. But really at the core, what we're trying to do is we're trying to accomplish bringing the best practices and process to these districts through various workflows. And that's really the cornerstone of what we've developed. We've built these workflows with listening to districts as large as 85,000 students and as small as 500 students, and really kind of understanding what are the seasons that a school district goes through in terms of the start of the school year and what are the challenges there, going throughout the school year, what are the challenges, the day-to-day tasks that districts are trying to accomplish. And then at the end of the school year, is it about collecting devices for repair? Is it about redistribution? Is it about retirement? And all along that path, providing tools and specifically those processes to help the schools really almost serve in a larger capacity than maybe what their staffing allows for. And through that, we don't just provide this tool as a means for district technicians and technology directors and CTOs to use this tool, but through our permission system, we actually allow districts to kind of extend their reach and to be able to leverage additional staff such as educational assistants. They can even leverage library staff, and then even setting up roles and permissions to allow those student level tech workers that Jen was talking about with the trainings to actually log in and participate in the one-to-one lifecycle management within our one-to-one manager. So kind of shifting to that student-centric piece, our system is unique. It is unique in that we are integrating with student information systems. So you're not just seeing information about the asset and maybe where it's located, but you're also seeing student demographic information. And through the integration of 13 plus different student information systems, we're able to bring in student photos, the demographics around grade level, homeroom, building assignment. And what that really does is tries to provide you with a more well-rounded picture of the student. And then through the actions of incidents such as forgetting a device, damaging a device or even losing a device, we're able to kind of capture a snapshot of student behavior. How are the students interacting with the system? Are we able to tell you that the student is a frequent flyer, so to speak, where they're forgetting their device on a regular basis? Those are things that sometimes get lost when you're dealing with spreadsheets or you're kind of working with a library system, is what are the frequent patterns that you're seeing in your students and the use of their devices? So we bring a lot of that information to the forefront and try to make it actionable for you. And again, all of this is just being captured through the day-to-day processes of collecting devices for repair, handing out loaners, even doing just device repairs. If you're doing a lot of that in-house, we provide tools for tracking those repair processes. So knowing exactly where is the device in that repair life cycle within my district on a day-to-day basis. You can do things such as tracking part availability, knowing if you have parts shorthanded on parts and need to maybe get some additional parts in district to do those in-house repairs, or if a device has been sent out for repair, kind of tracking where that is in its repair life cycle. Other pieces that are really to kind of change the experience with managing Chromebooks is that by leveraging our Google integrations and the SIS data, we have special tools in place where we can actually automate the placement of a Chromebook within the Google admin console. And by leveraging things like the building and grade level assignment, we can actually build rules within One-to-One Manager so that when a student gets assigned a device for the first time, that device can actually be picked up and put into the appropriate Google OU so that permissions, applications, printers perhaps, those resources that are assigned to that organizational unit actually get assigned directly to that Chromebook device in real time. And likewise, as students move from building to building, grade level to grade level, there's additional migrations that can be done at the start of the school year to ensure that all the assets end up in the proper location, ready for the start of the school year. And this doesn't require managing spreadsheets or anything like that. This is all done automatically through the system and the use of those integrations. And like Bill was saying, the strategic outcome side of things, reporting obviously is very important. So for every action and event that's happening inside of One-to-One, that's getting recorded. You're able to see historically what loaner devices a student may have had. You're able to see the number of incidents a student has had, and that all becomes reportable. So you can actually bring out all of the incidents by building, be able to see trends or statistics around the types of repairs. Are screens frequently broken at the middle school, for example? Are keys missing? Are there particular models that you see having more damage or less damage? Bringing that information kind of just to the forefront to be able to make good decisions, because at the end you can start to look at things like during the replacement and retirement process, are there certain models that you feel hold up better than others, and maybe you're looking to replace with those particular models or things that have similar attributes. And as Learn 21, we're constantly looking to kind of allow districts to provide us feedback in terms of the features and functionality. We're constantly listening. So, Bill, do you have something to add?
Yeah, Kevin, I was thinking about the work we've been doing with Acer. It complements really what Jennifer was referencing earlier about the Acer EduCare program. It's been a great program for our school district at Sycamore Community Schools in Cincinnati area. But I know within the One-to-One Manager, as I talk to you and your developers around, I always like to say, wouldn't it be nice? You know, I always come to you guys and say, hey, wouldn't it be nice that we could have reports around what's that data look like? And you guys have done a phenomenal job. I think that's what's so essential in this tool. And I know it's our tool that we've developed and working with a lot of districts and listening to their needs. But again, that you guys are responsive around developing these workflows on how do we do, you know, recognizing how much it costs. What district, what building in the district is my frequent flyer, if I can say that in a good way, you know, and you guys have done a nice job. I think that's what's key about these reports, that I needed to go at sometimes go talk to a principal and discuss why are we seeing more breakage at a certain building than others. So I just wanted to jump in and just really reference that. That's also that metadata I know you guys have been able to do around what our warranty is, and we can see that in the fleet reports.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, being able to track warranty information, protection plan coverage, a lot of that stuff helps to kind of frame the conversations, like you're saying, with various leadership within the district and even communicating out to families as well.
Yeah, the family communication has been I know we haven't talked about that. I know you're going to jump into maybe a couple of districts we're working with right now, give some examples, but that has been also a critical piece of engagement of parents and guardians and getting them involved in the acceptable use, tracking acceptable use, I mean, tracking hotspots. I'll let you kind of go on. Go ahead, Kevin.
Sure. Yeah, and that's just it. So it really kind of becomes a system that's really more than just that asset management and being able to, like Bill said, be a system that is extensible. So as your district has very unique processes in place, being able to add the ability that when you hand out a device to a student, for example, you can assign or check off a box to simply say that they have accepted or provided a signed acceptable use policy. Certain districts have workflows where they're providing protection plans, and those may be self-coverage or they may be third-party purchased. The system allows for the tracking and maintaining of all of that. And then as incidents occur, you put claims against those protection plans and you're able to track the use of those protection plans. And these are all, again, just pieces that are feedback that we've received from districts as we've talked with them and worked with them and really understanding, seems like every year there's just new layers and new degrees of complexity that's coming onto the tech department's shoulders into the district and trying to manage something as simple as handing a student a device quite often.
Yeah, and I would say one other thing too, Kevin, and this kind of goes back to the partnership with Acer, and I know we have a partnership, Acer and InfoCase, protecting the device and tracking the protection of the case on the device and the warranty. Those are all pieces now that we need to look at. How long does that device get protected under the warranty? What does it look like on how it performed under those 3 or 4 years of warranty? What kind of case was on that device? How well did it go? And all that metadata is so much more than what you talked about of just handing out a device at the beginning of the year and being done with it. And those help you verify and justify the work you're doing, and if it's costing you more with a certain vendor, or if not, how well your vendor's performing with you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you want, next slide, please, and we can kind of talk through some specific examples. We've got a couple of partner districts that we've worked with, Elk Grove Unified School District and Boston Public Schools.
Yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about our work with Boston Public Schools, and then Kevin, you maybe talk about your ongoing work with them, and then Elk Grove as well. I know that Boston Public, uh, as the pandemic, as we all have witnessed, came about, it was going from, I believe, mostly in carts, Kevin, not a one-to-one program per se, to how do we move this whole thing quickly and to a one-to-one program, get the devices out and then tracking them. You want to talk a little bit about how you kind of even back mapped and help them manage their devices?
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it was very much, I think, what many schools went through during the transition in March of last year, where they were trying to get devices in the hands of students, and they were genuinely just kind of pulling them from anywhere they could. They were also working to purchase devices, and those devices getting them out to students, and just trying to make that transition as smoothly as possible. And through that, as always, when there's little foresight, you end up and you have to really try to reconcile what has happened. And that was one of the challenges that Boston had, is that they handed out a large number of devices. They were in the hands of students. Thankfully, as we were working with them, we were able to capture each device and which student had that device. But then being able to get those assets back to their original home, original school building, that actually became the challenge. The challenge was trying to figure out where did that device originate, and then trying to then kind of reconcile things from there. So we worked with the Boston team specifically on leveraging their Google integrations, the assets as they were assigned to the students, and we were working with them to kind of back map, as you were saying, Bill, to bring back here's the original home, here's the original organizational unit in that case from the Google Admin Console to say this is where that device originally resided. The device may be from a high school building, but now it's in the hands of an elementary student, and it served its purpose, but how do we then transition getting that device swapped out and back to its original home? So there was a good bit of kind of consulting with Boston in that regard, trying to help them just kind of get a handle on things. We've also worked with them on a regular basis and helping with just general inventory management support, they're providing us feedback around their challenges. We're working to enhance our reporting, providing additional reports, even working to customize the system based off of their repair center workflows and processes. They've been instrumental in just helping provide us with good feedback as a great partner. And all through this time, it's just been a great experience overall for us.
And one of the other things I'll just say is what's so important to us, and students and teachers really don't even understand or know about it, is just tracking of purchase orders and what monies were used to pay for certain devices, how important that metadata is when you're pulling that. I know you know that, Kevin, working with a lot of large districts who might be using some title funds or either Acer dollars or whatever it may be. That's important to have in a system. So again, it's so much more than just passing out a device, but you kind of know where your devices are and what monies would, because you can only do certain things with certain products that you purchased with some funds.
Absolutely. And I will say the other part that I think was a success with Boston is with them being so large and having so many buildings and therefore so many staff, uh, for them to be able to leverage a platform such as ours and be able to come around it almost as a community, it provided them with a good foundation of consistency. And I think that was something that they were very fearful of early on, is that, with the large number of buildings and staff members, that they wouldn't have both good visuals to be able to see what's happening in their district, and then making sure that people are all working in the same way, in the same fashion, that the same information is being gathered, and that they're able to, again, kind of measure things on the other side. And by leveraging a system like One-to-One Manager, it really helped bring a center to their deployment, and then it's something that they were able to pick up and continue to carry with them throughout this school year and for school years to come, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to just say that we'll talk a little bit about Elk Grove, and just we'll pause on that and then move on in this webinar. But what we're thankful for is Acer brought the partnerships, and this was part of our One-to-One Manager Acer partnership, and you'll hear about that in the next couple slides, what an opportunity it is for anyone on this call to be involved in that. But the Elk Grove also was a lot about custom reports and providing that data, reportable data. I believe, Kevin, you did a lot of work, your team did as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Elk Grove team was definitely a fun team to work with. They are very into continuous input and feedback around a lot of their processes. So they were nudging us to continue to provide real-time data, real-time reporting and tooling. So that was definitely a fun experience on our part, and being able to develop those with them together, and really just kind of continuing the collaboration with such a large-scale district as they were. Just trying to serve their needs the best we could. They provided, again, a lot of great feedback into those processes and workflows. So we were able to make adjustments to help support larger districts, and again, just continuing to support them with consulting around best practices, what we had baked into the software, and then how best to manage their assets through the pandemic and beyond.
Yeah, and I'll end with this, that, it wasn't just about devices for students, it was about devices for staff that we've actually managing in this enterprise system. Also, as well as in my district, we had actually a teacher bundle that we put in the One-to-One Manager. We also have loaners. Schools want loaners attached to certain buildings. That's their loaner pot, if you want to call it, or their loaner pool. And so helping them manage all that is just part of what you need to do with an enterprise device management ecosystem. So if you can go to the next slide, I want to just, again, thank Jennifer. And I know I'm going to pass it back to Jennifer to talk a little more and the work we're doing together.
Thank you so much. we really appreciate the partnership with you as well. The product is great and really helps our customers. So I just kind of wanted to summarize and bring it all together and kind of how we, our life cycle management, first is the premier support that is critical. Our second is the self-maintainer program or ASP program where you're paid to do it. The third piece of this life cycle management is the e-learning repair program, which is, again, my absolute favorite piece of this, and I think brings the most value to schools. The trade-in program, so what you have sitting around that isn't going to get used, you can actually trade in, so you can bring it to your local reseller partner like Trox or CDW, and any of them, and that you can apply it to your next purchase. We have green product policies. We're looking into some bulk packaging at some point in the near future. We have green products coming out, so we're always looking at that and better serve the environment. And of course, the one-to-one manager, which we just discussed. So I kind of wanted to put it all in one slide, which is, along with our durable products, all of these components is what Acer brings to the table with our products. So I wanted to turn it over and see if anyone in the audience had any questions. But before I do, thank you for switching the slide. I did want to say that any purchases of Acer in 2021 comes with the one-to-one manager at no charge for one whole year.
Thank you, Jennifer, Bill, and Kevin, for sharing your time today and walking us through all of these different components here. And to reiterate, if any of our audience members would like to take advantage of this offer, please email info@learn21.org in regards to getting details and how they can go about whether testing this one-to-one manager application or if they have Acer products and would like to get started on that. With this, what I would like to do is open the floor up for any questions. If you have questions, please put them through the question chat function as part of your screen here. And I also have contact information here for all the panelists: Jennifer Wadland from Acer, Bill Fritz from Learn21, and Kevin Gantos from Learn21, if you would like to reach them individually for any questions or follow-up. I do have a couple of questions coming that I will request Jennifer first. This question is for you on how does a school start the process of being involved in the Acer e-learning student repair program? What does a school have to do?
Okay, so once you purchase Acer products, we would actually set that up for you, and my team, which is the US sales organization, would reach out to Premier Support on your behalf to get you set up. So it's a very quick and easy process. It's just
Thank
all
you.
done by, once you purchase, we just email the administrator of the program to add you to the program, and then you can begin, and instructions are sent to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And the next question is for Bill and Kevin, and this talks about the one-to-one manager, specifically how are schools reporting on their fleet for the one-to-one device? Is it through age, damage, expiration dates, building repairs, student usage? If you could please shed some light on that.
Yeah, I'll take a answer. I'll try to answer that, and then I'll have Kevin jump in as well. We've seen a lot of folks looking at the age of their devices and the actual AU. If you're talking about Chromebooks, there are a lot of people looking at the AUE, auto update expiration, which we report out for folks. That's an important. In fact, one of our new updates coming more of a dashboard-esque area of one-to-one manager that can just bring you those right to the forefront, so you know the age of your fleet. I think, Nidhi, what people are challenged with is they don't want to be in a situation where I've got state testing going on or such, and my Chromebooks aren't going to be able to meet the need. if you're following
Yeah.
my logic on that.
Yep.
So that's one area a lot of folks are talking about. I know personally, we do a lot of reports on building to building, quite frankly, seeing where a frequent flyer is it, because to me, it speaks to, I need to maybe go do some education, or I need to get educated about maybe that grade level or that age appropriate case is just not working well, or something's amiss. So I don't know if
Yep.
Kevin, if there's your thoughts around that as well.
Yeah, I think there is kind of a mix of that. So like Bill said, age obviously is the main priority. We do find that when you start looking at specific bands, so from all of this, we're really trying to extrapolate a replacement schedule, trying to be proactive versus being reactive. So usually after the first couple of years of a one-to-one, you may start to find that there's a pattern where you're leveraging that AUE to say, my devices are only going to last for, I think it's 5 years now, 7 years, I've lost track. That device will stop getting updates at some point. But the device itself at a particular grade level may only survive 3 or 4 years, because eventually you'll start to hit a tipping point where the cost of repair, you've put so many dollars into repairing a device that you've now probably maxed out or met the price of a new device purchase, depending on what your situation is with your district. So trying to weigh that as well as just the life of the device, and trying to identify what devices maybe need to transition from being primary devices, the devices that the students are carrying around every day that they're working with, to maybe moving those into a pool of loaner devices, and then looking to replace devices with a newer model, something that's more rugged, something that's more powerful, but still leveraging the last maybe year or two of life out of a device by turning it into a loaner, and then having devices that you can swap out. So those are a couple of the other factors that people often look at as they're kind of looking at that end of life for a device, and trying to plan out, yearly replacement cycles, so that way you're not having to take the burden of a large replacement all at once.
Sounds good. Thank you so much both for sharing your thoughts around that. I think with that, we have come to the end of this session. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today, and we hope to continue supporting you in your education technology journey.